Hello. Is that Bobby Orr out there, or is that Tyler Myers? What the hell's going on out? What am I watching?
Does he need to start taking a penalty at the beginning of the game every game?
Oh man, when he scored that goal, the only thing that flashed through my head was that the clip from Dumb and Dumber when he goes, "Just when I think you can't do anything stupider, you go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself."
Well, it's one of those things too. Even the penalty he took, right? Like you could tell it was one. He knew he had to move the puck quick. He could hear the footsteps behind him, and he just flipped it right over the glass. And he's just like, "Oh no!" But all part of the plan.
Yeah, what a shot! Just wires it top cheese. And then what an incredible assist, like to find Suter in front of the net there, like really heads up play. He's moving his feet. Absolutely redeemed himself for taking that penalty. Penalty kill, doing what it's been doing for the last, pretty much since Forbert came back. He's been unreal as part of the penalty kill. And now with Marcus Pettersson as well, like really, really solid stuff out of the PK. So, pretty good period overall to be up 2-0. Now let's see what happens in the second. Let's hope we continue to put the pedal to the metal and not just, park the friggin' bus.
Well, it's like I'll give it up to Tyler Myers because he's very tall and he scored and got an assist. But I almost want to give it down because the Canucks did do the same thing they've done a lot of the time when they score their first goals. They sat back and they just couldn't stem the tide of the Ducks coming at them in waves. And it was a little concerning for a minute there, but then obviously they turned around. Hoglander missed on the breakaway too. So we'll give the Canucks a down for kind of sitting back again, but an up for getting back on track within the first period.
Yeah, and I don't think Anaheim's going to allow them to kind of go to sleep. They are physical. They got Gudis and Trouba on the blue line there, so the forwards are going to have to keep their head up when they're going in the forecheck. But yeah, they can't be parking the bus anymore. Lately, it's been parking the short bus, and we can't be having that.
Well, I want to give an up actually too to Vetrano as well, who Chico's cheering for. What was that defensive coverage? Like he was on Suter and everything was fine, and then he just like drifted away into the slot.
Yeah, that was a weird one. But I guess that's a forward playing in a position, defensive position that he's supposed to kind of float towards the puck, right? He's playing center in that case, and usually you have the other defenseman should be picking up the guy that you left behind, but he just kind of left him early and was a very poor defensive play. Not to be overshadowed by the redemption of Tyler Myers, but how about Artur Shilov's and a couple of the stops that he made in that first period? Yeah, look what I found. Hello, little round the world, and then that toe save to stretch out and lock down on the post with the left toe. That was, even though it didn't look like a big save, that was a real tough save to make because he was fully extended with that leg, and to have the strength to hold that against the post that firm and basically not even flinch. Really good things we're seeing out of Shilovs. We saw this last game too against Utah. Like when he played against Utah, he didn't deserve to lose that game, but he was showing signs of being more like the goalie we saw last year in the playoffs, and tonight we're seeing that again. Staying tall in his net, not going down and committing as early, which allows him a little more speed with his arms and his glove hand a little quicker. And I really like what I saw out of him in that first period.
Do you feel like they managed to keep Hughes' minutes down a little bit too? Yeah, he wasn't the highest minute maker. There was Marcus Pettersson and Hronek had more minutes on the D pair, but he was coming in at third. So I mean, obviously he usually plays half the game, so that is probably reduced minutes for him a little bit there. But yeah, running with the 7 defensemen again. Probably Tyler Myers is hurting with that, giant neck that got hit yesterday, and Hughes they're not really sure on right now. So looks like they are going to be able to manage Hughes' minutes, especially with a 2-0 lead here.
Yep. Yeah, and hopefully they can come out in the second and continue to push the play into Anaheim's end and keep getting some shots on net. Maybe we'll get a power play here if we can keep moving our feet and get out of here with 2 points. We just got to keep pushing the play.
We'll give an up to the Canucks stats. They have more shots, better face-off percentage, more penalty minutes. I don't know if that's a good thing. It's more hits, more block shots, but also more giveaways. So for the most part, the majority of the stats are in the Canucks' favor after that period, which is good to see.
You'll love to see it.
Coach Dusty in the house, spitting his lines. I'm going to bring them up on the screen for everyone right now. So you messaged me earlier today and you're like, now, because we've been talking about this, the Canucks are finally healthy, knock on wood. And
close.
Close. So you wanted to kind of put out there into the universe what you thought the line should look like. So I'm going to bring that up on the screen for the viewers right now. So what are you doing with the top line?
So with everything that's going on surrounding Besser and how it's like, he wants 8 to 9 million AAV for, 9 or 8 years. To me, that's a first line winger, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
That's first line money. Right now he's playing on the third line, which doesn't make sense to me. But if you have a first line center making 11.6 and you have a first line winger making 8 million, to me, it just makes sense to have them playing together. Especially when they have had success in the past playing together. They know each other. They know each other's tendencies. And to kind of rejuvenate the two of them, you bring in some youth and you bring in Lecker to play on that line with those two because he's the shot guy. It allows Petey to not feel the pressure to shoot as much. He has two shooters on his line. He can start passing the puck, doing the hard work that Petey already does away from the puck. He does do a good job of getting the puck back and that sort of stuff. So if the onus is less on him to shoot, the shots will actually come more often for him in that sense, because then the defense has to cater to the other two shooters on the line, which frees up more space for Petey. And then you just kind of go through the lineup and you just look at the way that the players that we have, and you have now Hedel in a second line center role. You can give him Garland and DeBrusk on his wings, two, hard-working forwards. They both have enough speed to keep up with Hedel, and they both have enough offensive talent that's a second line all day in my books.
Mm-hmm.
And then you move to the third line. You have Joshua and Suter and Sherwood.
Mm-hmm.
Who would want to play defense against that team with those two guys coming in on the forecheck? With Joshua showing signs of more looking like he was last year, he's starting to get more physical into play, starting to trust his body a little more. He's starting probably to feel a little better after the cancer and everything that he went through early in this season. That third line, I think, would be a great third line. And then you have O'Connor, Bluger, and Höglander, which is just a tough, grinded out fourth line with speed that can push you back into your end, keep you hemmed in your end, and also has the danger of scoring. You can also have Sasson sitting as your seventh spare or your extra forward or whatever, or whomever. You have a couple of guys from Abbotsford or what play sitting in the press box.
Yeah.
And now with the D-core that we have, when you look at it on paper, you have Hughes, Hronek, Marcus Pettersson, Tyler Myers. DPD is arguably our fifth best player on the blue line.
Mm-hmm.
So he's pretty much solidified himself on the left side, kind of as either the fifth, sixth, or it's hard to see him coming out of the lineup anymore. He learns so fast. So you put him with Forbert. And then you have Mancini, who can be the seventh defenseman. Hopefully they can maybe try and work something with Susie and his no movement clause. But Lankinen and Demko and net, when you look at that lineup on paper, how can you not see that and go, that's a contending hockey team? Like, that's a well-built hockey team to go into the playoffs with. Like, I'd be happy to see that if you can get Lecker to push Besser and Petey to find more of the shine that they had last year.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things is we have not been able to actually see this lineup all year because there's been so many different issues going up and down this lineup. So now finally where we're at, you might actually start to see some of these lines coming. The only thing I'm a little sad about, Dustin, is you don't have the Bluger, Joshua, Connor Garland line together. But other than that, I think I can see where you're going with this and the depth and the strength of each line, and everyone there, they got the grinders and the scorers mixed in together, even like the fourth line, like Luger can score, Hoglander can score, O'Connor can score, but they're also all three are very gritty players too. So I like the looks of this lineup.
Yeah. I just feel like it's a well-balanced lineup from first to fourth. And I just want to see it once before they make any crazy decisions with the trade deadline looming. Like, I'd love to see this lineup trotted out the next game against Anaheim, maybe, like when we're at home. I just want to know if we do have something there.
I hope Tyler Myers is still in chat and has seen that. He can pass that on to Coach Talkett.
Well, and lately we've seen Talkett watches our post games, right?
Yeah.
Like we say a bunch of stuff, and then he comes out and sure enough, he's saying the same things. So it's gonna get back to them somehow.
Yeah. So this next one I called Menage a Trade. There's a trade proposition out there put out on Sportsnet.com the other day by Ryan Dixon, and we heard a couple people talking about this in chat the other night. So I wanted to kind of pick your brain on it. Essentially, what it comes down to is Carolina, Buffalo, and Vancouver make a three-way trade. Carolina receives Alex Tuck with 50% of the salary retention, and then the Canucks' second round 2026 pick. Buffalo Sabres get Pettersson, and then Vancouver receives Dylan Cousins and Mikko Rantanen. What are your thoughts on that?
I hate it. I hate all this love for Dylan Cousins. He's going to be a good player, yes, but in what world has he proven that he is a first line center?
Mm-hmm.
He look at his point totals. I don't care if he's in Buffalo; he's given plenty of ice time to perform. It's just a risky play. You're putting a lot of eggs in a basket of a hope. That's one of those what if trades. Canucks cannot afford a what if trade right now. The the fact of the matter is we're in a position right now with Pettersson that we really only have one choice, and that's just to suffer through it and hope that he comes back. Because you're not going to get the right value back for him. This puts us further behind because Rantanen has shown that he needs a star to play with to perform so far with his move to Carolina. He has not been the same player without Nathan MacKinnon on it by his side. So that's a lot of hope, and that's just kind of typical of like Canucks Nation, and kind of there's this hoping and wishing that, like, yeah, there's a lot of really nice things to like about Dylan Cousins and his game, but I really see him as a super high 3C, really good 2C, but never a first line center. I just don't see his game developing to that kind of ceiling where he's going to be getting like 30 to 40 goals and 80 to 100 points. I just don't think he ever develops into that kind of player.
Yeah, I'm not sold on this trade scenario either. Also, due to the fact that Rantanen's a free agent at the end of the year, and he's probably going to want like $15 million or some nonsense like that. Which at this point, with how he's playing in Carolina without a Nathan MacKinnon, I don't think I'd be willing to pay that.
No, and yeah, I just think it's just way too high risk for very little reward, and if we do move anybody right now, it needs to be players that are a bit younger, but are proven that can help right now. Rantanen, I don't know if he's going to find his game. I know he scored tonight, so maybe he starts to find something here slowly as he processes the trade mentally a little more. I know he was blindsided by the Avalanche sending him out of town. He was intent on signing there long term. So I just don't like that that idea. It's just way too risky for me.
Other thing risky is putting your health in the hands of the Canucks medical staff. Seems like that's been going a little sideways lately. Today announced Julesen's going to be out for the rest of the season with hernia. But like we were chatting about, there's been a lot of issues with the Canucks injuries lately. Are you starting to feel concerned about how the Canucks are using their medical staff?
I am. They're just starting to get a track record of stories of mishandling injuries and not really listening to the players and their concerns. You think back to when the Sedins and everything were playing, and as they kind of got closer to retirement, and the way the medical staff team operated and how they had all these scientific programs and these specifically designed sleep watches for the team when they went on an Eastern road trip to maximize your body recovery and to minimize the number of injuries that guys got. And you look at Henrik with his Ironman streak back in his career, and some of the punishment he took, but was able to recover and look after himself well in the right ways. And if there was a concern, no one was ever rushed back. Now it kind of goes back to Tanner Pearson with his hand, and then Ilya Mikheyev playing for half a season on a arguably spaghetti ACL. Besser with his wrist injury before, Petey's first wrist injury. There's just kind of all these things where it's like, maybe there is more to Petey's injury, given that the track record of the team is, if you're not dying, you need to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where the disconnect is, and I don't know who's making these decisions, but it really feels an awful lot like sometimes guys are rushed back. The Hughes stuff now was really weird about, he almost went to play for the Four Nations, and then the Canucks didn't clear him, and then he was a game time decision, and Tocchet comes out and says, oh, he convinced me in the medical room. Like, I just, it's all just really weird stuff. And I really don't know if they're the right guys to be handling our players' health.
It's a little scary out there these days. A couple of Canucks record things I want to talk about with you, but we'll save that for the post-game show. We're about to get into the second period here, so enjoy the second and third, brother.
You as well. Let's hope for us to keep the pedal to the metal here and not sit back like we tend to do when we get a two-goal lead. Let's go for that third or fourth. Well, could you imagine a 4-goal lead for the Canucks?
I don't even know what that would feel like, man.
I'd be euphoric.
Katie's poor ears. All right, brother. We'll talk to you at the post game.
Nothing is perfect.